Welcome to the Next Class 2.0 with host Rob Birdsell, Kent Hickey, and Erin Barisano. Join us as we discuss the latest trends and innovations shaping education.
Hello and welcome to the Next Class. I'm Rob Birdsell, your co-host, joined by my friend, Dr. Erin Barisano. Erin, good to see you.
Hi, Rob. Good to be here.
How are things in California?
We're kind of warm right now. It's we've had the sunshine finally came. We had kind of a mild July and even August. So right when school starts, that's when the heat turns up.
Yes, my wife, who's a teacher, they got air conditioning this summer, and so
Life
they're,
changer.
yeah. But in Chicago, they're only going to use it probably 2 weeks, and then then we need the heat. But
How funny.
and how's the school year start in Orange County been?
So far, so good. We just wrapped up our first principal meeting, and a lot of good stuff that we introduced. We'll be working towards this year. So I'm very hopeful in this Jubilee year of hope. Very hopeful for a really good year.
And how is enrollment in Orange County?
We've been fairly steady. I do think I think families really though have to make decisions about how they're spending their money. So
Yeah.
I'm it was the superintendent's last week. So across the state, we were just kind of talking about that, and I think that the just the financial situation that surrounds us, there's a little bit of a fear about what the next few years may hold. So so we'll see how that affects us here in Orange County.
Great. Well, let's get to our podcast. Today we have a guest, Dr. Marco Clark. We'll get his bio. I met him when he was at the Holy Cross Institute, sort of the network of Holy Cross schools. Great guy, just so positive, upbeat, and really enjoyed working with him. Catholic Virtual was a sponsor of his annual meeting.
Got
So I
it.
got down there a couple times to Austin, Texas, to St. Edward's University, and just really enjoyed my time getting to know Marco. And I think you've met him too.
I did. I had the pleasure of meeting him about a year ago. Last fall, we were at a conference together, Duke and Altum, and I saw his name badge that he was from Holy Cross. So I introduced myself. I went to Notre Dame right across the highway there. So great. Oh my gosh, we had such a great conversation, and really just a kindred spirit.
And did you know about the school when you were at Notre Dame?
I knew about it, and I think when I was there, it was a 2 year kind of almost like the junior college, if you will, and then students would transfer into Notre Dame. I believe now that's grown. I think when I talked to him, I asked him that, and I think that there are now it's a bona fide college with 4 year degrees. So yeah, interested to hear kind of that transition and how that all came about.
Great. Well, let's get to it then, and let's welcome Dr. Marco Clark to the Next Class. Hello, and we are very excited to have a special guest with us today. Joining me as often as she can, Dr. Erin Barisano. Good to see you, Erin.
Hi, Rob. It's always good to see you and good to be here.
Thank you. And Dr. Marco Clark coming to us from Holy Cross College, Notre Dame, Indiana. Welcome to the Next Class.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Really a pleasure to be here. And Erin, great to see you again.
Thanks, you too, Marco.
Thank you.
So to start with, Marco, let's give our listeners and our viewers a little background. You began as a teacher at, you just told me, what was the school you began teaching at?
Yep. So this is the start of my 37th year in Catholic education, Rob. I began 37 years ago as a teacher and a counselor and a coach at DeMatha Catholic High School in Hyattsville, Maryland. 8 years there. And then I went on to Bishop McNamara High School in Forestville, Maryland, where I spent the next 24 years. So both in the Archdiocese of Washington, one sponsored by the Trinitarian Fathers and the other by the Holy Cross Brothers.
And from there, you went to the Holy Cross Institute in Texas.
Yep, went to the Holy Cross Institute at St. Edward's University, where I continued with the Holy Cross Brothers. That's in Austin, Texas, sunny Austin, Texas.
Yes.
And then from there here to Holy Cross College in Notre Dame, Indiana.
So how many years with the Holy Cross Brothers and Fathers?
Well, if you add in there the years that I was taught by them in high school, I think it all adds up to, I think 31 years.
That's awesome. And we'll get
Yeah.
into that in a little bit. Well, thank you for being here and excited to learn. But can you, for our listeners who may not be as familiar with Holy Cross, can you tell us a little bit about the institution?
Sure. Yeah. Holy Cross College, we're still a young institution, founded in 1966, originally founded really as part of the formation process for the young men who were studying to be brothers for the Congregation of Holy Cross. They would spend 2 years here at Holy Cross College and then finish their studies at the University of Notre Dame. Locals here in the Midwest thought that that was a great idea, that they wanted their sons to have the same opportunity to study 2 years here and then go on to Notre Dame afterwards. Part of what made Holy Cross College famous was the 1993 movie Rudy, where out of Joliet Catholic High School in Chicago, this young man had a dream to play football at Notre Dame. He came to Holy Cross College, and then he went on to University of Notre Dame. I think that most people know that movie. And he was carried off of the field after he actually had one play that he played, and that sacked the quarterback. So, but until 2003, Rob, we were a 2-year college. By the year 1968, we actually were co-ed, and we were able to send students to both St. Mary's, but also many other colleges and universities after their 2 years of study. Really took great pride in helping to prepare young men and young women who may have not been fully college ready to be able to go on and study at some of the most prestigious colleges and universities in the country. In '03, the students petitioned to the Board of Trustees and said, "Hey, we love it here. We want to stay. We want to graduate from Holy Cross with a bachelor's degree." And so in 2005, we graduated our first 4-year class with a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies, and there were 14 of them. So this past year, we just celebrated those 14 graduates for their 20th reunion. Um, and so we're still small, Catholic liberal arts college, really steeped in the Catholic intellectual tradition. Really pride ourselves in integrating the Catholic intellectual tradition, Catholic social teaching. We still graduate some 2-year associate's degree students. We still have numerous pathways to the University of Notre Dame. About 100 students a year after 1 year will go on what's called the Gateway Program to the University of Notre Dame. Some of them after 2 years. Some will do a 3+1, so they get an undergraduate from us and then a graduate degree from Notre Dame.
Oh, cool.
Some of them a 4+1 undergraduate from us and then a graduate from Notre Dame. So really pretty extraordinary opportunities here. A student at Holy Cross College, they can go here and take advantage of what we call the tri-campus opportunities. ROTC, be in the marching band, take classes at St. Mary's or Notre Dame, have full access to dining halls and recreation facilities and football tickets and you name it, right? In the tri-campus community where there's a total of 13,000 students. And yet they can do all of that in a small campus community like ours that is intentional about its Catholic identity and this principle of accompaniment that we really pride ourselves on. So there you go. You got a mouthful of what Holy Cross College and what we're doing today.
No, I mean, and you and I have talked since you arrived there, but I didn't know the story about Rudy. That's fascinating. What a great story. And also interesting that the students drove the decision to go to a 4-year. I love that. They petitioned the board, that it's really student driven.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a little bit about Rudy. I was on campus at Notre Dame. I'm a '93 grad of University of Notre Dame, and so I was there when they were filming Rudy.
Really?
And it was so funny. So some of my friends were extras, and people walking around with the 1970s gear, and actually that scene from the football game was filmed during a halftime.
Really?
Of one of the football game. So we were in the stadium. Yeah. When that was
They filmed it at halftime. And, Sean Astin has made appearances here. So he played the movie role of Rudy. And Rudy still will visit as well. I mean, he does book signings at the University of Notre Dame. And, his life story is really pretty inspirational. And he recorded a video for me last year that we played for our incoming freshman class. And really such a great story of resilience. And frankly, if I could just for a moment indulge, I think at the heart of the story of Holy Cross, the story of resilience, the story of overcoming obstacles, the story of having somebody believe in you before you believe in yourself all the time, right? That really is in the DNA of this place. And I think that there are literally hundreds and maybe even thousands of Rudies, if you will. I'll do in air quotes, Rudies that have come out of this place. And maybe there's one that has had a movie made after himself that sacked a quarterback against Georgia Tech. But the ones that have gone on to become doctors and lawyers and engineers and teachers and priests and bishops in this country, right? And I'll predict that maybe even someday there'll be a president at the University of Notre Dame that has come through these doors at Holy Cross College before going on to his continued studies at the University of Notre Dame. So that's really the story of Holy Cross, right? And so it's really very exciting to be a part of a college that's small and intentional and walking a journey with students in their education and their formation.
I really, I value what you talked about, that theme of accompaniment. And Congregation of Holy Cross has been a big inspiration, and had a lot of influence in my life as an undergraduate, but, as I've grown in my spirituality. And so what a beautiful place to be, and your entire career really, with the congregation. Um, you have, gosh, you landed at such a great spot right now, and so it's so inspiring to hear all that. What was the transition like, going from so long in high school, all those different, from a coach to a teacher, principal, president, CEO, and then going to higher ed? So can you talk a little bit about that transition, and the difference between high school and higher ed?
Yeah, in many ways, Erin, I feel like God has prepared me my whole life for this moment, right? And God does bring us to our time and place. Um, so the many skill sets that I had to learn in running a high school, right? I are skill sets that I've been able to bring to this place, right? So leadership is leadership, and so I've been able to bring that to Holy Cross, being mission driven, and understanding. Really, I'm the first layperson here too, by the way. So I think it was important to the board of trustees and to the Brothers of Holy Cross that they had somebody who really understood the essence and the heart of the mission and charism of the Congregation of Holy Cross. And so I can speak to that in a unique way as somebody who benefited from it as a student,
Mhm.
and somebody who's lived it, somebody who's researched it, somebody who's taught it, and been a part of it for the better part of my adult life. Um, Now there are some things to learn, right? So I don't think you just make a transition from high school to higher education. The academy is unique, right? And is to be highly respected, and learning about shared governance is unique, and is also to be highly respected. But I also think that higher ed can also stand to learn from non-traditional leaders that might come out of healthcare, non-traditional leaders that might come out of the business community. So I think there's a bit of a give and take. And I think in today's world, we need to be open and we need to be agile. And there's a lot of questions that higher ed is facing, right? There's a lot of turmoil. And so I think that the better that we can be agile, the more that we can be open minded and working with one another, the more collaborative that we can be, the better all of us are going to be in the long run. And so I was grateful. And frankly, when I came into this, interviewing for this, I just faced head on maybe what was the elephant in the room. That this is now my 37th year, but when I was interviewing, right, I was in 34 years, but I had only spent 2 of those years in higher education before being here, right? So the large majority of my career I had spent in secondary school. So that was the elephant in the room. So let's just face that. I knew I was going to have to surround myself with people who had the higher ed experience that I didn't have, and I was going to have to immerse myself in the study. Now, having said that, what I also had that maybe others who were interviewing for this position didn't have is that I had a tremendous fundraising acumen. I had to do that as the president of a Catholic high school, right? I also did curriculum development. I had to do that as a president of a Catholic high school, right? I also had been in a classroom, so I understood what it was like with strong pedagogy and instruction and instructional design, right? I also had some experience in higher ed where I helped to create a new program in doctoral studies at St. Edward's University. So I understood that. And then I had the mission element. Um, Ultimately, probably one of the greatest lessons I ever learned was the very first thing that a mentor taught me was to lead with love, right? And to lead with your heart. And so we'll make mistakes, but I think when we lead with love and we lead with our heart, people will be more forgiving, right? And so I've just attempted to do that as well.
That's great, Marco. I remember my first year teaching, the principal said, as long as you love the kids, everything else will work out.
Everything else takes care of
And it
itself.
was just such great advice for a young teacher. Just love them.
Just love the students.
Now that you are at higher ed, is there anything that you have learned in the past couple of years that you wished you would have known had you been a high school president? Many of our listeners are Catholic school leaders. So is there anything in the academy that you wished you would have known when you were president at Bishop Mack?
Yeah, I think that we spend a lot of time in Catholic secondary schools. Parents are all, I think that we put students on a treadmill of success, right? They have to take the right classes in order to get into the top colleges and universities, right? They have to get the right grades. They have to be in the proper internships, right? And programs. But along the way, what they forget is they forget and can often lose a love for learning. Um, and they also can they lose a sense of, I think students today are longing to be, right. I think that we want to help students to flourish. We want to help them to flourish personally and emotionally and spiritually, and that means it's a whole person education, right. And if we're only focused on getting the right grades and taking the right courses, then that's not whole person. And so if there are things that I could go back and do, I would really want to go back and really help parents to gain a broader perspective on really what it is we're trying to do with young people. And that's to help them flourish holistically. Let's really get back to human flourishing. So I've been doing a deep dive all summer on the science of happiness. And I think if Arthur Brooks and Dr. Robert Waldinger, and there's lots of colleges and universities like at Stanford and Yale and Harvard. The most popular classes today on those campuses are on the science of happiness, and they boil it down to two things. Students are looking, young people are looking, all of us are looking for authentic relationships, really genuine, authentic human relationships, and also discovering purpose. So I think it behooves us in high schools, K through 8 through high schools, is to help develop those things in our students. Now, here's what I think is missing. And I ask this question to a lot of the audiences that I talk to, right? Because we're Catholic institutions. What's the fifth mystery of the joyful mysteries of the Rosary, right? It's finding the child Jesus in the temple, teaching in the temple. And what's the mystery of that? What's the spirit of that mystery? It's finding Jesus, right? We create encounters with God. We help people find Jesus. That is the number one thing that we do. That is real human flourishing, right? So that's what I get to do in a small Catholic college, is help people find Jesus, right? And by the way, in a small Catholic college, help create opportunities for real human connection and help discover purpose. So if I could go back and do 24 years of high school all over again, I would really work on those three things.
It's
It's oh gosh, it's so powerful in working with young people and trying to discover, right, that sense of purpose. And like you said, there's this yearning, regardless of your faith tradition, this yearning for happiness, for belonging, for purpose, to know that we are loved, right. And so and I think that as leaders in Catholic institutions, we have been given this great privilege then to view all of that through the eyes of Catholic identity.
Right.
And it's just it's so beautiful and so powerful. And so so you're grounded in this really strong and beautiful faith tradition, and yet higher ed has been, the boat's been rocked, particularly this last year with some challenges in colleges and universities. How have you navigated some of those challenges that have come your way?
Yeah, yeah. First off, I would say this is that I think that there is a need for some reform in higher education. What I think we have to be careful of is that we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, if you will, right? Um, and so I worry about that, right? The stripping away all the research funding. There's some really good research coming out of higher education, right? We've all benefited from that. Our families have benefited from a lot of that research, so we have to be careful of that, right? I but there is a need for some reform, and I think we have to do a deeper dive into exactly what those needs are. Um, and but in our case, I like to keep things simple. I'm a simple kid that grew up on a farm, and I like to keep things simple. We've got to keep the main thing the main thing. And the main thing are our students. I worry a lot about affordability in higher education, and there is a concern about things like Pell Grants being reduced, the funding that comes from the federal government to help lower income students afford higher education. That's something that we're really kind of keeping our eye on. So schools that have boards of trustees, I think it behooves our boards of trustees to really be thinking about what how to prepare for that inevitability, right? I think that schools need to be raising the funds and growing their endowments to prepare for that inevitability, right? We all want to build new buildings and improve in our bells and whistles on our campuses and invest in athletics, but we need students. We need to have the people in our buildings, and so we need to keep the main thing, right? And really invest in our student population, and a big part of that is the affordability, right? So that's one of the big pieces of it. If we just continue to focus on the whole reason that we do this, and that's because of the students, I think we're going to be okay. There's also work in advocacy, right? We've got to work
Sure.
with all of those different branches that we can, with our different associations that we belong to, um, and then as well through local government. I just last week was able to sit at a table with 8 other presidents of northern Indiana colleges with our local U.S. Congressperson Rudy Yakum. And Rudy was all ears. I mean, we had him for 1 hour, right? And we heard him, and he heard us. There's a real opportunity in that, and we need to express our voice. So wherever people are in this country, they have that opportunity to do that. We should be doing that.
We're going to take a brief pause to hear a message from our sponsor.
Catholic Virtual is a proud sponsor of the Next Class 2.0 and dedicated to supporting Catholic school leaders. Our partner schools turn to us for online teaching solutions that fill teacher openings, expand their catalogs to offer more course choice, and provide options for students an alternative learning experience. Learn more about how we can support you at catholicvirtual.com.
Marco, if we could stick with that subject for a minute, the affordability. My kids are just finishing college, and it was not cheap, and they went to a public university. How do we get this right? I mean, it seems like it just keeps going up every year. I would welcome any thoughts you have. You had 2 years at St. Edward's University, 2 years at Holy Cross. You're next to Notre Dame. You've seen some of the better Catholic universities. What are your thoughts on how do we get this under control?
Yeah, when people are looking at the big picture, and I don't know that I have an answer for that, Rob. I think we who are in these positions need to be thinking very creatively about how we keep it affordable, right? I don't know that necessarily it's going to go backwards, right? Um, I think that there's some really good options that are happening. More and more people are entering college with dual enrollment credits and AP and IB credits. That's helpful. They're doing accelerated programs at Holy Cross College. We offer an accelerated 3-year bachelor's degree with 120 credits. It's not a 90 credit degree program. There are some colleges and universities now in some states that are approving 90 credit degree programs. You I think as well people should look at outcomes and ROI and then debt levels too, right? I think that the national debt average, student loan debt average that students are taking on over the course of their college careers is something like $32,000 or $33,000. That's the national average. Ours is about $22,000, right? So people should look at that, right? So there's going to be probably likely some debt involved in this. I think we as colleges and universities have to help with some financial guidance and financial literacy and all of this. Um, Ultimately, what the narrative is that we're hearing publicly is that, well, gosh, why take on all that debt? You can go on and take on other jobs, and there is a need, right, in a lot of different fields, in the trades, et cetera. I don't want to deter that at all. But I think if we're looking longer term, 10 years down the road, we do know all of the great benefits that higher ed provides, not only compensation wise. Over the course of a lifetime, we know that somebody with a higher degree, with a bachelor's degree, will make at least $1 million more over a lifetime on average, right? And if they have something like a STEM degree, it's even more than that. But there's so much more too. There are pro-social behaviors that are measured, that are improved. There's health and wellness that is measurably higher. There's lifespan that's measurably higher. There's things like divorce rates and things, marriage rates that are higher. So there's other benefits that are found to be true. So yeah, there is a narrative that you don't have to go to college, but I also think that we need to understand that there are still a whole lot of merits to doing it, despite the costs.
Yeah. Martha, can you talk a little bit about and you explained, when you gave the overview of the college, but the importance of a liberal arts education. I think that there's been this shift, particularly in Catholic education, even at the elementary and high school. This kind of refocusing on this the gift of the Catholic intellectual tradition and liberal arts. And so, what does that look like at the higher ed level?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting, right? When you read some of the things that are coming out of Silicon Valley, for example, right? I was in the schools. I remember leading initiatives that we became a one-to-one school. We were so
Yep.
proud of the fact that we became a one-to-one school. And then research came out a decade later that said that students' reading comprehension was lower when they were reading on tablets as opposed to actually reading books, right? And we became dependent on the screen, and so um, I, look, technology is a part of our life, right? These kids are natives to that. AI is a reality that we have to embrace. One of the things that AI can't do is AI relies on inputs and outputs, but AI has no ability to believe anything. AI has no ability to hope for anything. This is where we come in, right? We have to be able to think ethically. We have to be able to think critically and creatively. And just recently, I read a book by Jeffrey Rosen called The Pursuit of Happiness. And our founding fathers, for all of the faults that every one of our founding fathers had, um, Jeffrey Rosen looked at the reading lists of the founding fathers, and the reading lists of the founding fathers was steeped in virtue ethics. They were reading things like ancient Cicero and Seneca and Aquinas and Augustine and Aristotle, and so we're actually seeing and hearing today, coming out of the tech world and out of Silicon Valley and coming out of big business, that they need to hire. They like to hire people coming out of the liberal arts because they can train them on the technical side. And the technical side changes all the time, right? We've got to prepare people for jobs that haven't even been invented yet. So how are we going to prepare them on just the technical side alone? We have to be able to prepare them to think and to problem solve and to think critically and to think creatively and to work in groups and to be able to have empathy and compassion and to understand and learn from history. And then ultimately, I think, to be virtuous. The world is desperately in need of more virtue, right? And so that's, I think, really the benefit of the liberal arts.
That that is great. We had on last season Dr. Daniel Porterfield, who is the
Mm.
CEO of the Aspen Institute, and he has a new book out called Mindset Matters,
Uh,
and talked a lot about the liberal arts. But he didn't talk. It was the first one I'd heard. It was not about money. It was all about building the mindset that a liberal arts education does, the ability to critically think, which, as you're talking about AI, that is the most important part as we move into an AI generation, is the critical thinking that a liberal arts education brings to young people.
I also might add to that is I came out of a liberal arts education at the College of the Holy Cross, a Jesuit school in New England, and it gave me a service mindset.
Mhm.
It gave me a common good mindset. That the world wasn't centered around me. That real human flourishing doesn't mean just Marco Clark flourishing. Real human flourishing, and this is what the founding fathers found, and when they created our founding documents and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, real human flourishing meant all of us flourishing,
Mhm.
right? And that's really what we need to teach today's students, and that is the value of the liberal arts.
That's great. Well, Marco, great to have you on to the next class. I knew it would be a fun discussion, and as we almost started getting into it before the recording, but we ask all of our guests one final question, and that is, who is your greatest teacher and why?
Oh goodness, I've been blessed with really incredible mentors. Goodness, certainly life has been a great teacher.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. So I would probably say that Dr. Dennis Golden. Dr. Dennis Golden has been a longtime mentor of mine. He was the president at Fontbonne University. Prior to that, he had worked at several other universities. He's a graduate of College of the Holy Cross. I only came to know him because his son, Dennis, and I played football together at College of the Holy Cross. We were classmates at College of the Holy Cross. Dennis and I were counselors and coaches together at DeMatha Catholic High School. And he was just always someone that I looked up to as a father, as a leader, and ultimately as a Catholic educator. And he's been a mentor of mine every step of the way. I've never taken a class from him, but boy, I pick his brain. I've picked his brain for more than 37 years now. So ever since I met him when I was 18 years old as a freshman at College of the Holy Cross. And so, yeah, I would probably say Dr. Dennis Golden.
It's a beautiful one. We've been doing this for a number of years, and what I like about that is he wasn't your teacher, but yet we come across teachers throughout our lives, and you'll have to send this to him when we drop it.
Oh, that would be beautiful. And I had some amazing teachers too. By the way, I sure hope that they don't feel neglected in this. But I just feel so blessed to have had a mentor like Dr. And I've had many, many great mentors too. But somebody like Dr. Dennis Golden, who I seek to emulate every single day in my mind when I have to make a decision, when I have to give a talk, when I interact with students. It's almost, what would Dr. Golden have done? It's one of those moments on a daily basis, on a moment by moment basis.
That's great. Well, thank you again for joining us on the next class. Erin, anything you want to close it out with?
Oh, no, I just love this conversation. Thank you. Thanks for all that you do for your students. We talked about loving students. That came through loud and clear. And our young people need to be loved. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Rob. Really my pleasure. Thank you.
Okay, Carlos, we'll pause for a minute. And once he lets us know that the recording is rendered, you get to go, Marco. But Erin, you have to stay because you and I are going to do an opener and a closer.
Perfect.
Which would be funny doing an opener after we've done the podcast.
I know, after our conversation.
Got to pretend like we didn't have it.
What a great conversation. Thank you. I just, I feel like we could just sit and talk for hours. You were just, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
it's so interesting to me, this deep dive on happiness.
Yeah.
I just kind of stumbled upon this summer.
Gosh.
I really got into Simon Sinek's Bit of Optimism podcast. I've never listened to podcasts, frankly, but I stumbled upon it, and now I've read Arthur Brooks, a couple of books, and really love it. I'm going to have Arthur Brooks. I think we can get him on campus this year, if not this year, next year. But I think our students, they just need there's, I mean, I think Lou Holtz, you were at Notre Dame and Lou
Yeah.
Holtz was there. I think Lou Holtz says, if you want to be happy in the moment, eat some ice cream. If you want to be happy for a day, play around a golf or go to the beach. But really, if you want to be happy for a lifetime, it really is about finding purpose, right? And serving others. And
Yeah.
it's what students are searching for,
Yeah.
but we bring them up in such a way to achieve, right?
Right.
Just get a good grade, take the right classes, get the right internship, all that kind of stuff. And Notre Dame is, every one of them, they're all type A kids.
Well, that's it. Yeah, yeah. And I even think at our, and I look at our secondary schools, and I think, Catholic education. I think the pendulum has just shifted so far. We hang our hats on that we're college prep, college prep, college prep. But what are we? We need to prepare these young people to be people for life and the life after. I mean, that's it, right? That's what we really. I just. I don't know. I really feel this that we need to talk about reform at higher ed. I think that we need to look at it at secondary schools, particularly in Catholic schools.
Well, that was fun. He doesn't have much enthusiasm.
I feel like I just heard this keynote speaker. I mean, he's so inspiring.
I thought he was going to jump out of his seat a couple times there. I think he's got a passion for his work. I love that. I mean, Father Foley, the founder of Cristo Rey, once said, if you've got passion and you get excited about your work, that's all that matters. And man, Marco was getting excited there.
Clearly. And I mean, again, as I said it at the closing, his love for the young people that have been entrusted to him and their families, that, navigating this. And I suspect many of them first generation college goers, to have a president of a college with that much love and enthusiasm is really special.
Well, you can see he's a teacher at heart.
Yeah, exactly.
And definitely, I wrote down a few takeaways, but loving students was one of the themes that I really appreciated. And the story of Rudy, I had no idea. That was fascinating. But I loved how it was more than just the Rudy story. It was about resilience, which is really the Holy Cross charism. And I loved how he took something that could be just a marketing gimmick, but made it authentic for the Holy Cross congregation. And resilience is one of the parts of their charism that is really important to him. And then another takeaway I had here in my notes, his job in the institution and your institutions, our job is to help our students find Jesus, and that will lead to human flourishing, which I'd not heard it sort of said that way or presented that way, which I found pretty to your point earlier, hopeful.
Yeah. And I just think this beautiful mission that has been entrusted to us. It's so, it's beautiful. It's humbling. It's a privilege. All of these things. I loved, and that's why I wanted to ask the question about the liberal arts, because I think there has been this shift, not only in higher ed, but as then these young people go out to find jobs and employers, what they're looking for and things like that. So that was really interesting to me, and to hear that from the perspective of a president of a college.
And just such a unique background. High school president, Catholic high school president, Catholic university president. I was really looking forward to this conversation, and I hope our listeners enjoyed it too. Any final takeaways from you?
No, I just, like I said, I feel inspired. So great to know that we have partners out there that are doing this good work with us.
It is great. To all of our listeners, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like us, share this with your family, friends. This is our sixth season. Season 6. So we're not new anymore. I used to say we're new to this, so help us get the word out there. We're not really new anymore, but as we said earlier at the opener with you and Kent, great to have you back, Erin, and thank you for joining me today. To all of our listeners, wishing you well, and look forward to seeing you at the next class the next time.
Thank you for tuning in.